coming in with pretty standard lineup, except for that very, very funky Radea list that we see come down.
I mean, I don't say we've tried to wrap our head around this list. We understand what it's trying to do. We understand the win conditions and such. It just seems like a very unorthodox list to bring to a tournament, and it's nothing new because a list like this has existed in the past and it has had its time in the sun. It's just that lately it's kind of been outmatched by other versions of Scoia'tael. I mean, we've gone through we've gone through the age of, you know, the precision strike control sort of dominating Scoia'tael. We've sort of migrated even to an elf swarm version. We've also gone and pushed forward to, you know, traps and nature's gift and harmony way back when, and this was sort of wedged in there somewhere as the top of the pile. So it's nice to see this list come back. And you know, Radea is a card that it's obviously the conditions to play this and to get the max benefit from it make it so that you're really going to have to sort of find value out of really unorthodox cards like I mean, the Blue Mountain Elite, let's say, which we saw last game. But it worked out. It worked out. I really thought that this deck was going to be very susceptible to bleed, and at that point, it actually busted through against Blaze of Glory.
And we saw it get bled down to literally 0 cards in round 2. Had to spend Radea, had to spend Heatwave, had to spend Feign Death. Spent a lot and still came out strong because you have so many tools and so many different options. I'm very curious. We're going to see it in action again because the ban is in here. And John Sally's Blaze of Glory list will be banned. So we're going to see line pockets. We're going to see Deadeye Ambush, and we're going to see NG. Hopefully we get to see this Vilgefortz come in big, because I'm very curious to see exactly how that's going to be used in this list. We know it can remove something tall, but it also has a few little fun tech choices as well. So lots of options hanging out there.
I just got word also that John Sally has been promoted to lieutenant. So congratulations, Lieutenant John Sally. Detective is just sort of back in the, you know, back in the old days. That's in the original trilogy. Now, John Sally has been officially promoted to lieutenant. Congratulations, John Sally. Let's get some John Sally, Lieutenant John Sally in the chat there. We're very happy for John Sally, and I hear he's got his eye on captain.
Flakes, just going back to chat quickly. You asked a question, you put a challenge out there to chat, and now they are pining for the answer because they want to know when you have last shaved. I think it's fairly obvious to be able to explain to them that based on that baby face that you have, you've actually never had to shave ever, and that you have saved a whole lot on razors because of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I bought one. I just took the razors out because it was a moot point, but I just go through the motions. But if you really want to know, the last time I shaved was Thursday.
Excellent. There is an amazing picture hanging around somewhere of Flake unshaven, unkept, and he rocks a hell of a questionable mustache. If there was ever going to be a Detective Flake, he would have that mustache with the aviator glasses, 100%.
I don't know how many times I've been invited, like, hey, would you like to help promote Movember? And I was like, yeah, I do not want to at all sully the name of a good cause by having this kind of crustache grow under my nose. It's disgusting. And the reason why I shave is because there's this really awkward state between like actual visible growth and just full shave. Like it's not worth it. And it will take one hell of a Kickstarter or GoFundMe to get me to not shave. Like, it's not happening because it looks disgusting. I am like some sort of space hobo. It's just gross.
I think that means we need to double down on Movember this year, but we'll talk about that offline, chat. We'll figure something out because I think that is just something we absolutely want to see. We want to see go down. So we talked about John Sally. We'll jump into Big K's list quickly, kind of review that. We've got a couple more minutes before they get going, about 5 spot or so. I mean, we see Nature's Gift. Haven't seen a lot of that. We were talking about this before, Flake, that Big K of Team Legacy brought a very, it seemed to be targeting Arrakis pretty hard, right? With things like Crushing Trap in it, the Marauder and the Herkia in Blaze, you know, a lot of little tech choices in there, even Horson Jr. in the line pockets list. Interesting enough, John Sally does not run AQ, so that's not going to be a factor here.
Yeah, so there's free and clear in that case. Again, a lot of the times, one of the strategies that you might have going into a tournament like this is you're either saying what are the strongest lists, free and clear, or what will be the most popular lists that I can go ahead and beat. Again, it doesn't matter if you lose, twice. You just gotta, you can't lose three times. So if you're going to be going up against a list, if you suspect that everyone's bringing AQ and all your decks beat AQ, those decks that you're playing may lose to the other lists, but eventually your opponent will have to win with AQ. And if all your lists just crap on AQ, you will eventually push forward and move through. And that's basically how it goes. And in this case, it seems like perhaps the Big K just decided, you know what, maybe I think that AQ is going to be everywhere. And if that's the case, I'm going to tech against it and just not ban it. And I'll ban some of the scarier nonsense that's out there. So unfortunately, that doesn't seem to have come to fruition in this particular matchup because Lieutenant John Sally has not brought the Arrakis Queen. Unfortunately, the trade agreement between the Bug people and the Gwent cops are not. It has not been ratified, so that is still a future. So there is no alliance between the Arrakis and Gwent cops in the future. So Lieutenant John Sally, no access to the Arrakis Queen, which could potentially hurt Big K's lineup here.
Exactly. And so looking at Big K's list here, again, we talked about the bans being in. Big K's AQ list will be banned. So we're going to see Nature's Gift, Lion Pockets, and Blaze. A nice little change in dynamic. We're not going to have the Blaze and Lion Pocket potentially mirror up against each other like we've seen in the last couple of series. So, Nilfgaard has been very strong recently. Those potentially quadruple Joachim lists. Depending on how things are playing through, we're going to see Radeus with something pretty unique from John Sally, and then a fairly standard Line Pockets. On the other side, they're going to go head to head with Nature's Gift, which I haven't seen in action at all, really, this tournament. Line Pockets and Blaze of Glory. So it should be pretty interesting to see kind of how these things match up, what direction they go. Big K that we're looking at right now is on blue. So of these lists, obviously being on blue AQ is a great option because it just looks to slam out points and not necessarily answer. But Flake, which of these three decks that are available to Big K do you think that they will be looking to bring on blue coin?
I mean, your blue coin lists, AQ is a really good blue coin list. Line Pockets, a very good blue coin list. A lot of these lists that Big K is bringing to the party are relatively decent with blue coin. You've got Pyrotech, you've got Hamadryad, you've got things like Dunka, Popco. There's a lot of proactivity and setup that's there. There's you're relying more so on some of the special cards such as Circle of Life, Nature's Rebuke, Dryad's Caress, etc. A lot of these are going to be reactionary for the most part. Dryad's Caress, again, a nice answer to potential poison threats. Yeah, kind of how we're going here. And AQ on blue is real nice, real good. It's just likes to just swarm the board, doesn't give a crap of what you're doing for the most part. The units that or the cards rather that they have from a controlling perspective, Heatwave, Parasite, Doragary. Once those are out of the way, I don't know if that's enough, let's say, for to control other major engine pieces. But again, it just wants to flood the board, put points on those bodies, spread them out as much as possibly. And as we see, Irden, as much maligned as it may be, in the whole grand scheme of Gwent, I know everybody has their opinion on it, and I think there's about 19 different Reddit threads a week about how to change this card. Well, here we are at the tournament, and it's basically in one list. Maybe it's not really all that popular.
Well, you also have to think of a few things, right? Like that in this scenario, I know it's an open deck list. I know that Irden is in there. I know that I need to spread my bodies out. I know that I need to do different things. The fun part about including it in AQ is the fact that with Yennefer boosting everybody's units on board, I know I'm going to get Irden value. I know that they cannot necessarily dodge that too much. At the same time, we're saying all of this, and the one list that was banned of Big K's, that Arrakis list, so we're not going to see Irden come down. It's not going to be an option for them.
No. So AQ is gone, which leaves Big K with the Nature's Gift list, the Line Pockets, and Blaze of Glory. No surprises here. Seems to be like standard procedure in this case. But we will get to see the Nature's Gift list come through. And again, the only defender in any of these lists being Figus, and that's there. It's a nice little protection against the potential threats against Pavko Gale. Again, this is the list that likes to just line up in the back row, get a nice amount of bodies there so that late game Gesrus can come through and get a decent amount of value. And if it's hiding behind a defender like that, you're going to at least get maybe a turn or two of ticks from that. So worst case scenario here is that Ficus might just eat a heat wave from the opponent, eat a piece of removal from the opponent, and then that's one less thing to worry about. But the bonus from Ficus is the fact that it just spawns 2 bodies. It's 2 bodies on the board, which helps with the eventual Gesrus value of it bouncing around and such. Also worth noting, I don't think we have a Phyrexy in this list. It is a devotion list, but no Phyrexy. But we've got Dunka and Gord and Crushing Trap and a lot of access to nature. It's basically Ace Ventura 2 and Nature Calls, but in Gwent format.
And that's part of it as well, right? When you've got something like Figus in the list, to be able to get behind it, to get access to some of those taller targets, get access to Hamadryads, things like that. If that does have to eat a heat wave, you're actually pretty happy about it, because Figus, point-wise, is not the biggest threat. But if you need to use the heat wave, you're all set. That is also why we're seeing more and more Purifies come through in these lists.
Yeah, Purify. I remember when Purify was kind of brought out to the game, and there was a lot of people who thought about it as just being kind of negligible. But the fact that the Purify has actually been quite the tech piece. Again, even there was a day back, God knows how long ago, when people laughed at Poison and thought Poison was too slow and useless and was not going to ever see play. So it's amazing how the game evolves and how things happen. And seeing Nature's Gift come through here. What was the ban? So Big K is not going to have access to Arrakis Queen, but John Sally, Lieutenant John Sally, had his Blaze of Glory banned, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct. So John Sally will be bringing that Rodea Deadeye ambush list along with the Nilfgaard Double Cross, and the lined pockets going to be on Red Coin. Big K is going to have lined pockets, going to have Nature's Gift, going to have Blaze of Glory, and we are getting ready to go here. This is going to be the bottom semi-final of the top 64 Season of the Bear. We've already seen Akela go through, going to be in Gwent Open 2. We're going to see who's going to be joining them in just a few moments. The first game shall be kicking off, and we will be rocking and or a rolling.
Yeah, nice little variety on this matchup as well. Again, with all the bans and the variety here, I think the only double tap here is going to be on line pockets. So other point of discussion is the fact that line pockets, for as strong as it is and for as many people rely on it on ladder, it's not getting as much respect as some other lists are kind of pulling out of their opponents in terms of bans. I don't think it's been banned yet, has it?
Line pockets, I don't believe we've seen it be banned either. I think, again, when you're building that tournament lineup, you're usually looking at targeting one of your opponent's list, and you're looking at finding a way to really tech against those matchups. And if line pockets is coming out anywhere, maybe I just face it every single time. I know everybody's going to bring it. I bring tech choices to to beat it, and we'll just let it go through because I'm always going to face it. And if I have to ban it every time, those other 3 lists can get very, very difficult to figure out because they're going to be a lot more varied.
Oh, heck yes. So it's going to be nice to see a little bit of variety here in these lists that are being represented. Again, it's Big K versus newly minted Lieutenant John Sally.
That's right. Let's see if John Sally makes it through here and goes on to the Gwent Open number 2. Is there another promotion in line for John Sally?
I suspect. The captaincy is right in his crosshairs here. All he needs to do is just, keep his nose clean and just stick to the book. But Detective John Sally never stayed by the book. He got down and dirty, real gritty. Lieutenant John Sally might have sort of cleaned up his act. He's a little bit more of a desk jockey now, not really, pounding pavement and knocking on doors. Lieutenant John Sally has that captaincy in his mind. So he doesn't want to ruffle any feathers. He wants to play right by the commissioner, play right by the captain who's going to retire soon. Lieutenant John Sally is probably going to play by the books here, but who knows? You never know. Some of his old friends, his old foes might come back to haunt him where he needs to go ahead and reach into that bag of tricks. As we see right now, speaking of bags of tricks, it is Double Cross. Lieutenant John Sally in the sequel, Gwent Cops Double Cross.
Like John Sally is wily veteran, so it doesn't matter where you put Lieutenant John Sally. It doesn't matter if you give them the desk job. None of that matters because John Sally is going to go back to his roots when he needs to get the job done. And John Sally needs to get the job done right here to go to Gwent Open #2. That's why our lieutenant is bringing the Nilfgaard list. Now, this is the list with that Vilgefortz. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see what goes down and how it happens.
No access yet to that Vilgefortz unless you sort of kind of throw caution to the wind and toss a YOLO Roderick out there to find the Vilgefortz if necessary. And also worth noting, no Joaquin there either. But there are some plays that you can make. You do have the Slave Hunter, you do have the Sergeant, little hunting puppies going on as well. So there are plays that you can make. And for Big K in this case, same thing. Big K on blue. With the Dim and Light Longship Hayme Protector package, which is a very, very, it takes a couple turns to get this set up, leaving it a little bit vulnerable early on. But if you can keep those units on the board, if they're sticky enough and dodge some of that removal, then they should be fine. And then you can really, really sort of, start snowballing on those plays here. But we'll watch as it goes here. This might just be a Marauder and a ping to clean this up.
So John Sally, again, has a good amount of proactive plays in hand. The hunting pack, we just saw the Sergeant come down, but no locks, nothing like that to really be able to answer. So if Big K can get out there, get the Protector rolling, get the boat out, get, bodies on the board, it's going to be difficult, I think, for John Sally to get ahead without having to commit too much. The bright side is that stratagem that Big K will eventually use, that Iluxa will use, is going to allow the doggos to thin. So that's going to be a nice kind of setup there. And we've got Raiding Fleet. We've got Vabjorn here in hand that the Big K can also use to tempo ahead with a nice tutor, access to Blood Eagle. Not too many golds in hand either. Again, Skilliga doesn't want to play a lot of those golds in round one. Yeah. You can't commit ice. You can't commit things like that.
I don't think that's a bad thing, frankly. I mean, there is such thing as having too good of a hand.
Yes.
I mean, if you're especially as Skellige, a lot of those cards that they have are very important to an overall win condition that you might want to drop out there. There's very few cards that you're gold cards that you're willing to just drop out there willy-nilly in round one. So having a pretty robust bronze hand, especially designed the way this deck is, it really likes to bank off of a lot of reach from these bronze cards. The Hayme Protector with the Dim and Light Longships, stuff like having the Blood Eagle in hand and allowing your Vabjorn to go ahead and get that Raiding Fleet is masterful. It feels so good because you're able to go ahead, thin, tempo, set up your Hayme, life is good, and there's no problems. So as we see now, it's just piling on to Lieutenant John Sally, who's got a Slave Hunter there with a bad case of the bleeds.
And it's got a nice balance for Big K as well, right? You've got the option, you've got your War of Clans for later down the line, so you're going to be able to set up your graveyard by having the Brockfire Hunter on the board, so that's set up. You've got your Raider in hand, so getting that down on the board is going to set up your graveyard again for your Herald. So you've got everything you need in kind of round one to make a nice push, but at the same time, also set up your graveyard for things coming down the line. I can't remember if Iluxa is the one playing the Hjalmar. I believe so, and that's why we see the Greatsword coming out as well. So that graveyard is going to be really ripe with tools you can pull out, depending on the kind of the situation you run into.
Here comes the dogs. There is a status. The emissary comes through. It's got that little eyeball, the Eye of Sauron. Is there or it could either mean that it's the overall Lord of Mordor, or it just might be that there's disloyal and they're spying. I haven't decided yet, but either way, it is a status, so the dogs do come out. One dog calls the other and says, "Hey, there's some fishy stuff going on over here. Check this out." And as such, the dogs come out, but it's still a lot of deficit here as the Hayme Protector comes through. And this is what we're talking about: is that you're already in a lead. And playing these bronze cards means that you could extend that lead without expending any of the bigger cards. It's still just a 4 provision card. It's a big piece, but it's only 4 provisions.
And it's a 4 provision engine that's going to continue to grow. We see the other boat in hand as well. Those protectors can be awkward in later rounds if you don't have a boat or a berserker or something to throw down next to them. But in this case, the protector is going to come down. You can easily follow that up with a boat. You can easily follow that up with the Raider to get it going in the graveyard. You still haven't even touched Crystal Skull. Here it comes down on the boat to give a few extra pings. And that feels really good. I think if you're a big K, you're pretty happy, and you see the pass come through. I think that makes sense. John Sally just kind of clears out some of the cards from their hand, sets up a thinning play with the dogs, and is feeling pretty good now.
Yeah, this is just Act 1 for Lieutenant John Sally in the sequel to Gwent Cops 2, Double Cross. And as we see there, lots of good cards. There's the Joaquin. That's a big one. That is definitely a big one. That just means that should there be a bleed happening over right now, you do have the Joaquin and the coup de grace if necessary. You don't have location, so you can't rely on that to come through just yet, as we see the last of the mulligans. Now, you did pick up the Cupbearer, which is okay. That's not bad. You don't have a follow-up poison for it if necessary, like straight out of the box. But what you do have is a golden hand that might thin out and improve your option for the Roderick if necessary. But it's just a little pass back and forth. Again, this is what Blaze of Glory likes to do. It just wants to have that last say so that I can hit the iced and go crazy.
Exactly, and you're going to have plenty of good targets, right? Because Joachim's going to come out possibly twice. And that's going to go and allow at least 2 large targets on the other side of things, 2 tall targets that are going to be answered by. Again, I think there is a Hjalmar in this list. We'll have to go check once the mulligans are completed. But between that and between Ice are going to give you lots of solutions to some of those taller bodies. But otherwise, the hand, I would like to say that Big K's hand looks fairly comfortable. Otherwise, extra poisons popping up. So a lot of bronzes, I think, left in the list for John Sally. Just kind of trading 1 for 1.
Oh boy.
Oh
right,
no.
Okay, so this is going to be a little bit problematic. We didn't find the Morkvarg for Big K, nor did you find the Hjalmar, which is also in there. So we'll see what if we ever get to take a quick peek at the deck there. We'll find out if we're lucky that way. But nonetheless, there are still some firepower, some big cards left to pull out. No Morkvarg. And Morkvarg in the mirror, bad juju. Morkvarg against this list is a pretty good card to have. Unfortunately, it's just not there. And here comes the Joaquin. That's a nice little opening play, I guess. I mean, if you know what's in your hand, you're not necessarily going to be terribly upset about what occurs here. But I guess, do you Van Warlehem here? I mean, I mean, do you lock it? Do you bleed it?
No, this is interesting, right? Because if you bleed it, when you hit it with coup, you're actually going to kill Joachim. It ends up in the graveyard, which you can then use location if you get it from Roderick, put it back on top. But however, Kentarel is still in the list. So that, while I think that's a big brain play, is actually irrelevant. You can do all these things, except you don't have the cards for it, and therefore it is impossible.
It's like when I was really young playing baseball. You could make it to the major leagues if you just try. Well, there's also the fact that I'm like 5'10" and like weigh $165 at the time. So I don't think I'm gonna make it to the major leagues, but I appreciate the sentiment. Like, thank you. You know, I have a case of Tony Soprano where I couldn't make it as a varsity athlete, but it's just the way she goes. And here it comes, the Brockfire Hunter. There is our good friend Harold. A wonderful card comes through, revives, brings Brockfire Hunter back to the board, taking a nice stance in the range row and holding court. And looks like he's tired. I've always wondered, is he sitting? Is he kneeling? Like, it looks like me after a flight of stairs.
That's correct. He seems very much out of breath, except he has facial hair that we know you cannot physically grow. So it can't be you, but you know, there are some definite similarities there. I'm also wondering now, based on the fact that War of Clans is in hand, is there something else that Big K wants out of the graveyard with War of Clans? I thought it would be the Hunter. The Protector is the other option. It's not a great option, though. It doesn't provide a ton of value in round 3 when you don't have a boat to drop next to it. Maybe with like a Bear Witcher coming off location, things like that. But it's not necessarily as nice as it would be if you have the Hunter in the grave.
This might be a nice time to just drop your Herka if you want to. I don't think there's any way for it to be dealt with, but I guess it's not a bad time to use Skjordal as well. It gets rid of the Assimilate. You still haven't seen Braffins. You haven't seen Ball and everything that essentially gets created by certain cards. So the Assimilate value of that Skjordal killing the Cupbearer is probably... it came down as 10 points, but that may eventually evolve into a 15, 16 point play.
Exactly. And taking out that engine before it gets big is huge. So that's a big part of it there. Going to go get the engine for themselves. John Sally's going to set up a Hunter in the back row as well. Get those Assimilate pings going off and start to work away at Harold very slowly. very, very slowly. But actually, we did see a coup on Harold really win a game. In the I believe it was in the semifinals. I don't know that John Sally has a warrior in the grave to resurrect, but that would be another option as well because that can play for a lot of points, especially with a few assimilate engines on the board.
Still a lot of bronze cards in Big K's hand here. He's gonna have to start hunting for a target for that Blood Eagle if he wants to go find Yalmar and make some hay with Yalmar here. I feel it might be one of the best targets that he could possibly pull. You don't want to pull Yalmar with ice. That's just not that's not
No.
no. That's a story that you don't want to be reading at this point. But we'll see how this goes. John Sally here is going to eventually have to set up the masquerade ball. I wonder what he's. I mean, I don't want to say what are you afraid of in this point, but you don't necessarily need to play it if there's no reason to play it, right? You don't have to put it down yet. There's still no necessary. Like the thing about it is that when you play masquerade ball, it kind of begins to lock in certain plays that you want to make down the line in the sense that if there's no good targets to poison, it means that it stops you from playing certain aristocrats because
Yes.
you don't want to waste those. So sometimes just snap dropping a masquerade ball can be troublesome down the line because it then starts to limit what you want to do in the future. So holding on to it is perfectly fine until you know that there's a target that you want to start poisoning. The fact remains, though, that Big K has the final say, and looking at the hand as it exists right now, what is he going to get a chance to really poison that really makes sense? It might actually just be a 6-point raider.
I think that's going to be your biggest body that you're going to see on the board. You obviously can't wait till the end of the game to poison a Utah or something like that because you're not going to have really the time for it. I think John Sally also has to be careful. The more bodies that they put on the board, the more susceptible they are to Bloodthirst. Right now, we only see one Bloodthirst, so Iced is not yet capable of drawing that additional card. You see an Emissary in hand that can be used to buff that Hunter out of, out of that red zone. So you've got some options here to try and protect against it. But again, I think to your point, Flake, not getting Masquerade Ball out, nothing really to poison, putting extra bodies that aren't engines like your Fangs on the board is a little scary as well. So there's, you got to be a little bit careful with the direction you take here.
I'm proverbially stroking my non-existent beard here because these are intriguing puzzles here for either of these players to really solve. As you can see, the point values are very similar with the 2 damage on that Raider, essentially providing Big K the 1-point advantage. But they got the card in hand and nothing's said, nothing's done. There's still a lot of powerful cards to be played, as you can see. Masquerade Ball still just burning a hole in Lieutenant John Sally's pocket here. And that pocket's pretty full with a badge and a gun and all kinds of other police-related things because this is Gwent Cops 2, The Double Cross.
You've got so many tools in both players' hands here, and I think this is where it starts to get a little bit awkward because you need to commit something. Obviously, Big K still has the opportunity to drop another Raider here. But if you look at John Sally's side of things, well, now is it time that I throw a ball out there? Is it not yet? A War of Clans does have a Marauder, which is actually very nice when it comes to the Bloodthirst. There you're going to see Bloodthirst 2 allowing Ice to get full value. So that was actually very, very huge to be able to pull something like that and not just have to deal with having a Protector on the board.
Kablamo, it's party time. Masquerade Ball, wear your best masks and some other thing. I don't know. That party seemed like everyone dies at that party. Like, why would you want to go? But there it is. 15 provisions of party time are on the board. Let's follow that up with let's play a location as well. Why not? And let's go ahead. Hey, I got a Bear Witcher. You got a Bear Witcher. Let's all have a great time.
Again, you've got, trying to avoid that Bloodthirst at all costs. So that location actually comes in really handy. Unfortunately, it no longer heals by 3, only heals by 2, which means that the Bear Witcher will not get healed up to even Steven, though it will protect the Fangs. So it's going to come down here to how Big K manipulates around, just eliminating the Thirsty Dame and eliminating the engine on the board. Going to continue to let that ping go off. However, there are a couple 2s on the board now. So once again, you have that opportunity to get that full Blood Eagle value and drop something like Hjalmar to eliminate a tall target on the opponent's side.
There's the Kudagas as the Herka comes in with a little extra nice little hat on her head there. She's also been promoted in Gwent Cops, so she's looking tall and mighty, and she's going to start raining terror a little bit here and there. But the fact remains, friends, is that Bloodthirst 2 is still on the menu. The problem now is that should Big K want to use that the Blood Eagle onto that Brockfire Hunter in the back row, you are then pretty much getting rid of the Bloodthirst, which is not ideal. So if you want that Yalmar, you got to go ahead and find Bloodthirst. Now, what you can do is you can use the Bloodthirst on the Brockfire Hunter, pick up your Yalmar, and then go and basically toss the Yalmar into the Herka, which then becomes a 3-point unit, meaning that she'll be in the red. So that rescues the Bloodthirst, I think. I believe there is
There's
is there a great sword in the trash?
Yes, there is a great sword that was played in round 1, setting up very nicely. Here comes location down. That might be the first ping actually you go at to either set up more Bloodthirst or to knock Herkia down. Gonna look at trying to remove Herkia here, probably with the Hjalmar, and then you can drop the Protector down, try and get your additional Bloodthirst that way. Though that emissary is still sitting in John Sally's hand, looking to ruin the Iced's day here.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow. Is the fact that it's been holding he's been holding on to that as kind of a little ace up the sleeve. And again, it's a very insignificant card in many situations, but rescuing yourself out of a bloodthirst situation can be very helpful. The problem is that you got to also play it when you believe that your opponent is going to follow up with an ice. Do you drop it now? Do you not drop it now? Because if you drop it now and rescue, let's say, the value on that Brockfire Hunter in the back row, it just means that the Yalmar, you can't even pick up a Yalmar anymore. So you got to figure out a way to actually deal the damage. Now, you could go follow up with the Raider here, and that 2 damage onto, you could drop the 2 damage onto it the following turn, Blood Eagle into use the damage onto the Fangs, Blood Eagle onto the Fangs, Yalmar into something smaller, let's say, like another, I don't know, just get something into the red so that you can find your ice value. But it's been difficult. And like, if you're Big K here, you've been really trying to be creative to just maintain that bloodthirst. And Lieutenant John Sally has done a very good job of making it awkward for Big K.
And I think that's the problem here. You know, I completely understand your line of play where you go and you, let's say, damage something so you get ice value, but is that better, or is going Hjalmar into a great sword to remove Herkia altogether, is that a better option? So gonna go the Bloodthirst direction here instead. Just from a points perspective, I think this makes the most sense, but you do sacrifice potentially, you know, let's say up to 13 damage on that Herkia that, you know, she's able to provide with her with her order ability plus the passive as well. There's a lot to think about here, a lot of math to do.
We don't do math. We just have big mouths. That's what we do.
Oh, we don't do the math. No, they do the math. We just talk about, you know, all the wrong plays so that they can make the right ones and show us how it's done.
Damn right. Damn right. Here comes Usurper. This is as big of a tempo play as Nilfgaard will get on a 1 card there, as we can see, with pairing up with that Masquerade Ball, going to complete the package of poison there. And that's a big swing, as we can see. My goodness gracious, that is a lot of points to make up if you are Big K. Now, we've seen this in the past, friends. This does feel bad, but I mean, we've seen Iced pull some big plays before. So Iced, the Bloodthirst is there. It's going to drop in, draw a card. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how this kind of shakes out. But here it comes as Iced comes through, draws. Ooh, I think that you drop your Raider here for sure. 100,000%. You drop your Raider. That's going to be good to go for on this turn as well if you want to fire it. And that Morkvarg can now go ahead and potentially answer a bigger threat like that Brockfire Hunter in the back row.
Absolutely. That's going to be huge because that's going to be able to answer a second threat. So again, this is the beauty of this matchup where, you know, we saw them SKs go head to head earlier, but in that matchup, you kind of need to save ice for the end. So whatever you're discarding doesn't necessarily draw you an additional tool, but in this situation, it worked perfectly. You knew you could always discard that Raider and get full value from it because of the Bloodthirst. So there it goes, takes out Herkia. Mork's going to come down, do some work on the Raider.
Oh boy, here we go. Ooh. This is gonna be
is this Vilgefortz? Is this what I've been waiting to see?
There he is.
Is this what I've been waiting to see? It is.
Unfortunately, it's not your card art, but it's still pretty damn good.
I mean, I will not comment on my card art, even though it's pulls
Ooh.
out a 7. That is still a high roll, I want to say, because that could have easily pulled out Hjalmar and given a 3. So that could have been a huge 4-point difference there based on what was in the list. You had the potential of pulling Boat as well. I mean, still a 5-point swing.
Oh my
But
goodness, you're absolutely right.
Will just be enough.
Wow, that was two big pulls from the land of Skellige there. Not just the fact that Iced pulled the Morkvarg, which then dropped the Raider, but the fact that the Vilgefortz unfortunately rolled right into a 7-point tax on that play. Tough cookies, unfortunately, if you are Lieutenant John Sally. But
Ooh,
played
an
fast
epic.
on both sides, and there it is, Jengi Fret, distant relative of Boba and Django, is Jengi Fret. Did you know that?
I did not. Thank you for the Star Wars fact. I was
Whoa.
unaware. Just updating the score command so everybody can be up to speed.
Lord knows I'm not a good Gwent player, so I might as well fill my brain with Star Wars knowledge. That's basically where we're going. Yeehaw! As we go, as we're ready to go. Is this game 2?
This is game 2. That is correct. Right below your face is the score. Big K up, taking the first game 1-0. And coming on into game 2, we're going to have John Sally, Lieutenant John Sally, on blue coin going first. Big K on red. Big K can come back with either Nature's Gift or Line Pockets. Now, is this the time you come back with Line Pockets and, push really hard for that round 1 win on even?
Hey, at this point, I just want to see what the redemption arc is here for Lieutenant John Sally. This is not going to go well at the precinct, frankly, Chris, because he just got promoted, and your first assignment is suddenly you just you think you've got it all done, and boom, the rug is pulled right from under you. So there, Act 1 of this epic tale is kind of, it's in the books and it doesn't look good, but redemption arc is underway for Lieutenant John Sally because he wants the captaincy. There we go. Lieutenant John Sally is gunning for the captaincy, and gonna be tough. But I mean, we've seen it before. It gets dark before the dawn, So
one game is one game. I'm not concerned yet. I think Lieutenant John Sally has an absolute opportunity, just like Big K does, though. This really still is anybody's series. Both of them still have their potential opportunity to punch a ticket to Gwent Open 2. Yes, Flake, as you mentioned, not a legitimate ticket, probably more of an email, really. Something you wouldn't want to punch at all.
No.
But proverbially, you would want to punch that ticket.
Yeah, bring that one to the Geek Squad at Best Buy and be like, "What happened?" Well, I punched my email. It's basically, that sounds like in the book of Gary, that would be how he would solve those problems. Unfortunately, if anybody needs to know who Gary is, there's dozens of stories of Gary and his calculated RNG. It just happens. Nonetheless, friends, as we get rocking and rolling for the next round here, we do appreciate the fact that you guys are here, and now's a good time to hit the follow button on this channel. Don't forget to do that, friends, because the OneChristo, he is the OneChristo, or if you translate it into Polish złote, he is the 3.03 Christo. But I did the currency exchange for you.
You're impressing me with all this math, Blake. I wasn't expecting it, but I appreciate that you've got the math done ahead of time. You came in prepared like the professional that you are. I knew you would be, so I appreciate that.
It was fine. Like when I went to Warsaw for like one of the first times of casting a Gwent tournament, we're there, and it's just like I have Demorkis, and I'm with like Shinmiri and a bunch of people, and we're touring old Warsaw, and this is beautiful, and that's amazing. And I think the first time I said, "Wow," was when I figured out that like a donut was like 10 cents. I was like, "Wow, this place is amazing! What a beautiful country and city." It was because a donut was not expensive at all. But,
this city is beautiful. Just give me all the donuts.
Yeah,
essentially.
Basically, I mean, that's kind of how it went. But as we can see here, that was a good time right now to just show you this card back, ladies and gentlemen. This is a Flake approved card back. They offered me upwards of about $4.68 million for the rights to have this kind of branding and such, and I said, nope, don't need it, keep it, it's all for you. Okay, just take the Flake stuff and make it happen. And that's what they have gone forth with, and I am very proud that I can have this card back in my account. And if you haven't already, I do highly recommend that you go ahead and take a look at it. But enough of that. Let's go play some games.
Did you read the contract? I don't think it was dollars. I'm pretty sure it was a few million nothing. I'm fairly certain it's a few million nothing. But
Yes, sorry. The translation of, or rather, the exchange of fake dollars to
Shroot
Canadian
bucks
dollars.
to Canadian dollars, yes.
The Shroot bucks. Yes, exactly. Unfortunately, those don't translate. And the unfortunately also Usher bucks. Look those up. Look up the Usher, the R&B singer, using money with his face on it at a strip club. That is a true story, friends. Go take a look at that tasty nugget if you want a fun read. That happened recently. But no, flake bucks also don't exist.
But to be fair, in all seriousness, go out there and buy that pack with the lovely Flake coin, the Snowflake card back. All of that will support the prize pool for Gwent Open 1 happening next weekend. I believe it is only in the store for another couple of days, so get it while you can. It is a beauty. I have purchased it, Flake. I imagine you have, since it's your calling card.
That is correct. I wear it proudly, and yet here we are. So it's one of the finest things I own. As I look at all my other stuff here,
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Star Wars cards, Gwent account. That's basically all I have here. Okay, back to the games. As we see here, it's time to play Nature's Gift versus Line Pockets. There's the standard opener. Safecracker comes in. Look how big and bad and nasty that is already. Now, when you're playing against Devotion, Chris, there's limited options for big time control. No Heat Wave, none of the Geralts to kind of bail you out here. So this is going to be, I don't want to say greed versus greed, because I wouldn't call Line Pockets greedy necessarily, even though they deal with money, ironically. But if the Nature's Gift list wants to succeed, they're going to have to be very, very aggressive with how they make these points happen. Proper usage of the leader ability on things like the Hamadryad, etc. But you're going to be worried about things like poison. You're going to be worried about tunnel drill. It's going to get pretty nasty here.
And, you know, again, you talked about the typical opening where you drop a safecracker. Unfortunately, again, no access to justice here. So you haven't seen that traditional safecracker into Furco into justice or safecracker into justice, any of that. Putting that shield on the board would have made it a lot more challenging for Big K to get full value from one of the pyrotechs, because, you know, one of those clicks would have been completely eliminated. John Sally, playing it safe, though, just continues to spend crimes and continue to boost that safecracker, because we see in hand there are no rebukes there. There are some Circle of Lives, though, only dealing 3 damage, so can't quite answer the safecracker, can't answer the engine or take it off the board.
Yeah, no shakedowns either to go ahead and boost that safecracker if necessary. So a little bit of Circle of Life into Circle of Life. Yeah, basically it's a Lion King dream if you need to get there. And Elton John would be proud with all the royalties he'll pick up. But if you can go and knock those down back to back, you should be able to clear out that safecracker.
Not exactly efficient, though. Doing it this way, you have to, you know, I guess hope at this point that, you know, they spend another crime, they boost the unit some more, and at least you're doing 3 damage and getting 2 value out of it. Doing 3 damage, getting 1 value out of it, even though it's an engine, just feels kind of bad. So you probably want to be careful there. We see the boost from Circle go on to Gezris, so that is going to make him a little bit more difficult to remove, which is kind of nice.
I think what it is more so is that it's going to be more expensive for Philippa to steal it. And what's interesting now to note is the fact that these Circle of Lives are going to be boosting things in the hand that that if you're playing as Lieutenant John Sally, is that if you're holding on to that Philippa and just kind of keeping 4 or 5 or coins in the bank because you're intending to steal that Gezris, let's say, well, if it comes down as a 7 because of the boosts, well, that's problematic for you. And because you might not have had that thought in your mind that it was boosted as far as it is. So in this case, there was even a situation here where I may have even boosted that Gezris maybe one more time to drop it up to 9 to make it really difficult for Philippa to steal it. But then again, if you're gunning to steal that Gezris, there's a good chance that you don't necessarily want to put all the coins in that bank, because that just makes for a more devastating Philippa down the line.
Exactly. And, you know, I think it's interesting. You go and you boost up your Danka because at the end of the day, it makes the most sense. You know, if you look at John Sally's side of the board, you have things like Payday that easily answer a 5-point body. You know, in this case, Bloody Good Fun, obviously with the amount of coins in the bank, are not necessarily, that's not necessarily the way you want to spend them. But going and buffing Dunka up just keeps things a little bit easier to deal with. You don't have to worry about one card coming down, snapping her away. So this might just kind of make things a little bit easier here. So a quick pass on that is John Sally's side, correct? With the ST deck, pulling out some decent gold cards, should be able to defend the bleed pretty nicely here. As Big K doesn't really have Cleaver or anything else to really commit proactively. Maybe Jacques comes down.
Double Bloody Good Fun is it gets less fun as you have multiple copies in your hand. Basically, you can tailor one to be the kind of amount of damage that you need to get rid of a threat. But having two of them is going to be difficult because you definitely want to be able to follow up with more coin generation. So flipping one to the other is fine. As we saw right away, we just drop the swindle and see what happens here.
I had this backwards, by the way. John Sally is on the bottom of the screen, is playing the lined pockets list. So I had that a little bit mixed up. But yeah, John Sally just dropping the coins, getting the boat out, and Big K is just going to try and threaten here. But will not get the chance to, just bounces straight out.
That's correct. Now, I'd probably even value both of those Hamadryads. I wouldn't even drop one on the board to get some stuff out of your hand. That's a very valuable bronze card that you want to hang on to if you are Big K at the top of the list there. Ethne is going to go ahead, complete herself. She has reached full Charizard, full Blastoise mode. Actually, in that case, it would probably be Venusaur representing the green. But again, double Bloody Good Fun is not good. That's going to get tossed, as we see right there. Adios. And yeah, all right. Well, we're going to get rid of one of the Hamadryads. And that's a nice card to have as well. There it is. There's Call of the Forest. That gets you whatever the hell you want, Chris, even a boat.
And I was agreeing with you initially where, yeah, you want the Hamadryads because they do produce a lot of points, and knowing that there's going to be a lot of removal on the side of line pockets, it could get ugly and one could go easily. One could get Philippid very easily. Things like that can happen. But I think here, when you draw Ethne, when you've got your Hamadryads in hand, you've got all these Symbiosis procs, you need nature cards in hand. Our Gord here is actually very small. Repek just hovered over, I believe Gord was a 5 or a 6. So that's not a ton of points. You're going to have a few more nature cards in hand that are going to be able to kind of get your roll in there and get Gord up and running. That's potentially what you want to use Call to go get. Don't have that defender either, so Pavko's a little fragile in the back row at 5 points. Easily answered by something like Payday, but we don't have that in hand either. So it's going to be interesting to see how these trade back and forth, because you do have a lot of answers, but John Sally's going to have to use them very smart and very efficiently to make sure that they're really maximizing the value out of each one of those.
Tunnel Drill can actually just go full ham here on those two Dryad fledglings, I believe they're called. I don't know. I don't answer their fan mail, but basically that is that Tunnel Drill is going to get a lot of work done. Unfortunately, no pockets for it. There's nothing really happening here to really make that happen. I mean, looking at the list, looking at Lieutenant John Sally's hand right now, well, he's got to call for backup somehow. Unfortunately, here at Gwent Cops 3, the lined pocketness, I don't know how to call it. That feels bad right there. Dropping a Gord is as clear of a telegraph as possible to say that, okay, I don't have Cleaver, I don't have any other Crown Splitter, but I do have a Drill, so we're gonna get this started.
But it's awkward, right? Because you have to play Gord here. You have Justice in hand that you can't play without Gord. You have Drill in hand that you can't play without Gord. You need to come out with Gord. There's probably a line that says you can wait a little bit longer and play a few more specials, but the better you make Gord, the worse you make your safecracker you're going to pull with Justice. It's just awkward overall, and it's going to be very difficult for to be able to generate points this way. Big K comes down with the defender, and it's going to make things even more awkward, though. Bloody Good Fun actually in this scenario is very, very nice.
Yeah, Bloody Good can clean this up, but I'm wondering if you just take the opportunity to go ahead and set up some of your crimes at this point. I mean, this whole setup in the back row here is basically to benefit and feed into a really powerful Gezris. And you don't have to worry about Gezris yet. It's not happening. Don't worry about it. So yeah, there's a way to just get rid of that. That's a clean and clear way for Kurt to do some work there. Congratulations, Kurt. You scrubbed the defender away from Figus, and there's still lots to be done here. But that Drill, like you said, that poor Gord, not as Gordo as we suspect. He's been on Weight Watchers a while, and he hears what you say, calling him Gordo and such, and then for our Spanish friends that's, just calling them fat all these years, and that ain't cool, right? We don't shame here.
Oh,
But a 7-point gourd is still a body on the board. It's a crown splitter. It's going to make a nice left flank for that tunnel drill. But more importantly, Chris, it just, like you said, it activates that justice.
Flake, thick is the new thin. We don't body shame here. We don't. We would never speak negatively about El Gordo. But you're gonna have again kind of an awkward situation. You've got a hand because of round one was so short. Round two was basically just dry pass cards. You want Dunka out early. You want Pavko out early. You need Defender out to protect. You want Ethne out early. There are so many cards that sequencing becomes a little bit weird here. You need to play your Rebuke before you can play your Forest Protector if that's the direction you want to go. Maybe that's actually what comes down here, dropping the Rebuke to remove the Safecracker before that engine can get rolling, because there are a few other crimes in John Sally's hand.
So it might be a good opportunity to drop Dunka again at the 7 effective value, defense value there. A drill is going to have to click 3 times. So it's going to be costly to get rid of the Dunka if necessary, but Dunka coming down means that the drill might come to follow it, because there's no way that Philippa is stealing that Dunka. It's just not happening. You can forget about it. But there's the Rebuke. Nice clean kill on the Safecracker. That's pretty much where you want to go with that card. Problem now that you need to understand is that real estate in that back row is going to get crowded. There are still 1 and finally 2 potential nature cards that Big K can play that might create more treants to block the back row, meaning that Gezris might not be able to bounce back there. But also worth noting that Pavko is a range row locked card to get the benefit of the pings off of it. So that could be potentially problematic too. You have to be mindful of the fact that you want to drop that card down sooner than later before it gets dangerous, and those treants, which just kind of wander in randomly. I mean, we've both seen the 2 towers and Return of the King. They're not exactly the swiftest of creatures.
That is correct, Flake. They are not swift at all. But Duncan coming down here is actually very, very a potentially great proactive play, because you're going to buff your hand for a bit, but this can also give you the opportunity to reach and remove the pocket for the drill. Never mind, pretend I never said that. But just like you said, John Sally does have to awkwardly spend another coin to finish Dunka off, getting that 2-for-1 value instead of the 3-for-2 value. So makes it a little bit less fun to do, but just going to empty the tank here, probably spend another time, because you can come back with our good friend Siggy and fill the pockets right back up. But we know that drill, it's not going to last. The Forest Protector will protect the rest of the Wandering Treants by bringing our Rebuke out of the grave.
There it is. The Rebuke's really nice coming through. Forest Protector. Big body did get benefit from the Dunka. And adios, muchacho. There we go. And the Death Wish ability, or the Death Wish benefit of that card, is that it gives boosts a treant by 2. So one of those trees got a little 2-point hat, which is nice. And here we go. Jacques comes through. And man, does he look upset.
So this is interesting, because Jacques coming out, obviously, you want to spend Jacques before you fill up your coffers too much, because you don't want to overprofit. You also know that Gezra's turn is coming up next, so you won't actually be able to steal Gezra's right off the bat. You're probably waiting a turn before that happens, because Gezra's comes down, you answer with Siggy, and then you Philippa. Or you look at Heat Waving.
I think one option here is you Heat Wave the Gezris, because it's going to take you 2 turns to get value off of it anyways. And he might have an option to boost it even further out of your Philippa range. So I think you just go ahead and click it. And if he follows up with a Hamadryad and boosts it with, let's say, his leader ability, you steal that, because you're getting a little bit more mileage off of that as well. It's a possibility also. The problem here is that the play is on Big K now, and there's no coins in the bank for Sally. So that would have been a good opportunity for the Gezras, knowing that there's no option for steal.
But knowing that, John Sally's 1 card away from getting that steal going, 1 card away from dropping Siggy, filling up the coffers again. So, at the end of the day, it wouldn't have been a big deal, because Gezras would have come down, boosted the back row, come back to the front. It hits your gourd for 1, it hits your shield, which you don't really mind that much. Then you can steal it on the way back. So it would have given them some flexibility to go through with it. But in this case, Big K, Iluxa might just be wanting to play around Philippa altogether and just say, you know what, I'm going to wait. I'm going to play this at the end. I'm going to use it as my finisher, just boost my back row once and be done with it. Might just be the safer play. And even if it gets Philippa, it bounces to the front row instead of the back row.
I don't think he's going to get last say. That's the problem. I mean, like, I get what you're saying. Like, it's going to be his last card played. But this might be where you want to steal. I mean, because you're spending 6 coins to steal 8 points. Like, that's a big deal. That's as efficient of the coins that you're going to get. And I don't think you're going to get because think about it this way. If you steal that Gezras, you're stealing the Gezras to the back row. And which means it will, on the turn end, it'll move to the front row, and you're only getting the 2 points of benefit off of it by it's swiping those 2 trees.
Correct.
So it's not ideal.
And that's why the sequencing was important, so that Big K didn't want to go and say, I'm going to get greedy and try and use Gezras on my back row twice. I'm going to play a little bit more, a little bit slower, so that, yeah, if I drop Gezras, they do Philippa. All we're going to do is hit the trees. Instead, going for Pavko. And again, same principle, right? Yoinking Pavko is going to produce, well, I mean, 2 extra pings of value. I think it comes to about the same thing. Though this is a creative way of doing it, allowing you to keep 2 extra coins in the bank to buff up Jacques. So again, just finding the best way to spend your coins.
Fortunately, this is not going to be good enough because you're going to go ahead. You're going to go and you're going to seek counsel and find a much beefier gourd than
that is correct.
Than the lined pockets counterpart there. And this is not enough. The dream of 69 points is dead, ladies and gentlemen, but it is still a red wins situation over here, as unfortunately for John Sally, Lieutenant John Sally.
You put too much pressure on him, Flake. You promoted him. You put too much pressure on him, and now he's feeling it. He's really feeling it.
I didn't promote him. It was the Gwent cops promoted him.
Secretly, you're big old Mr. Commish of the Gwent cops. That's
maybe the big reveal at the end of this whole thing is the fact that I've been pulling the strings all along.
The whole time.
The whole time. It's never who you suspect, or it's exactly who you suspect. But unfortunately for Gwent Cops 3, lined pockets, did not quite work out. But we're going to go ahead to match number 3 between Lieutenant John Sally and big old Mr. K, or Mrs. K, or Big K. Big
K. But don't worry. You know, that was Gwent Cops 3. We're moving on to Gwent Cops 4. There's going to be many more Gwent Cops to come. I just got word again from Repek that there's going to be a quick break in between these 2 matches. So we can just kind of jump back in and take a look again. Big K having won.
Should we, maybe we do that highlight reel real quick of the Gwent trivia in case some people missed it while some people run to the washroom? And
we can absolutely do that. So if you guys have seen it before, you're going to see it again. But check out the Gwent Trivia VOD on 983 TV, and we'll be back in 5 to see Game 3 of the bottom bracket finals.
Dancing Star Samum is 2. We've got Dimitri and Bomb 3. There's Making a Bomb 4. There's Red Haze 5. Moondust 6. There is whatever the other one, Northern Wind 5. There is Devil's Puffball 6. And there is Dragon's Dream 7. Let's go. Am I allowed to swear? I'm sorry. Let's go.
You can absolutely swear.
Let's go. I think I've got it. I hope
7?
Yeah.
No, you're wrong. However, I believe you might have named all of them, but you might have said the wrong number. Yes, Fox, right, because you went from 4 to 5, you named 2 more, and then you said 5 again.
I was counting with Specia. I think y'all can see.
Archispore. What is missing from Archispore? Yes.
Right.
A birdie.
A birdie is incorrect. Jason Salamo?
No, I was joking. It's missing Thrive.
Actually, that is correct. Yes, it is missing Thrive. It is missing Thrive. Okay? It is missing
The
Thrive.
actual answer to the question?
Yes. Okay. It is missing Thrive.
Well, I get a point for that, right? Like, I
Mark, focus on my face here, okay? Focus on my face. It is missing Thrive. That's
I didn't know you invited Slama onto the show just to yell at him for an hour.
You don't even need round 3. I'm the winner.
Never getting it.
Pull a harpoon
I was
out of my
thinking about
chest.
it, but after this done, you just pull it. Never getting it.
Now, if you want to take a look, just be like, okay, this looks something, but there's something missing from this picture. Can anyone figure it out? Now you may be, okay, blah, 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 whatever. Who is this manly stud riding this aluminum steed? We don't know. Nonetheless, if we take a look and we flick our fingers, there it is. We're missing me in the crowd cheering him on. That is what's missing. So that's basically how this works. But it's not 3, it's not 4. Chris, with his greasy moves, is now going to slide in and say either 2 or 5, right?
2 seems too cheap. I'm going 5.
Are you going to buzz in first, like a normal human being?
I've got a bad feeling about this. Bad feeling about this.
Yes, Chris.
5.
That is correct, and I am unfortunate. I'm so sad that I have to do this.
Our poor Tinder date over here with the X's over his eyes, because clearly she has gotten to his throat, and there's a couple candles over there too, since Flake, you mentioned those very specifically.
Now, is that like, just put that up again a second here, because I would be remiss if I didn't just shred this to tears here. But so now I'm assuming, is that like a blanket covering him, or is he doing a Chuck Norris roundhouse kick?
He was in process of doing the roundhouse kick, and then she went straight for the jugular, and then that's just how he fell.
It's a glass of wine. Not glass, but, a cup of wine.
A chalice, a cup.
Yeah, chalice. That's a nice word.
Yes, I guess the chalice is pretty good. Pimp cup is the other option, I suppose.
I went with Benny. Benny with a bow and leeks. I even used green for it, So he has the bow and he does pew pew. So I didn't want to open popcorn.
Now, are those very small hands or is nipples erect? I am not sure.
Very small hands, no.
Okay, I wasn't sure. It might have been very cold. I'm not sure.
So here's the thing, Flake. I drew my picture and I was actually very proud of it. And then I looked back down and I realized my placement of the burning head is maybe a little bit questionable. So,
Lord.
Oh God!
I'll let Chad decide.
Let's just. Oh my God! This is just, and Chris, I'm ending the question before you.
Okay, 15 years. It's night.
It is not night. No, it is not night. And sorry, Chris, I'm not letting you answer this.
But that's been my trivia strategy for the 5 episodes so far.
Exactly. Your reactionary Nilfgaard lockdown strategy can suck it. So we're not letting that happen.
The owl. So the squirrel is happy and it lives now in a forest and can eat its acorn.
Now, are those super tiny trees or just one gigantic?
No, man. It's perspective and all that. The trees are in the background. That's why she's in the foreground. I mean, this is all.
We forgot the disclaimer there, Flake, for that questionable video clip.
I mean, Gwent itself, I believe, is a isn't it like a PG-13 or something like that? It's like a big kids only kind of scenario.
It might be rated mature. We are far from mature though. However, these big brain mature players are going to be going into game 3 here. We have got Blind Pockets on Big K side. This is Big K's final list that they're looking to move through to again make it to Gwent Open 2. John Sally looking to pull the reverse sweep against Line Pockets. This has been a thing that John Sally is apparently known to do. So it's not over yet. 2-0 doesn't mean it's over yet. We've got a lot of Gwent action still for you on here. We've got Big K, Line Pockets. John Sally still has Line Pockets, Nilfgaard, and the Square list available to them.
Tough break there for Lieutenant John Sally here at Gwent Cops 4. Lined cross or double pockets. We haven't decided. Anyway, we're running out of ideas there, but unfortunately for John Sally, 1 mulligan too much means that he's got full access to the canine unit there, because that's 2 doggos in the hand, and basically 2 doggos in the hand is worth 0 in the bush in this case, because you want 1 or 0. That's basically the only options for you, as we see immediately. Big K is gonna go run through the proverbial motions here of standard Line Pockets procedure. Drop the safe cracker, go with the Nova Gradian Justice, and there you see the Crystal Skull dropping the veil onto onto that poison. But 2 more poisons in hand for John Sally.
This is going to be something because we see Vilgefortz in hand, and we saw in game 1 Vilgefortz come down on the Utah, I believe it was, ended up pulling out a 7, so that didn't help as much. But letting that Safecracker grow, having Vilgefortz come down to answer could be an interesting line of play here as well. Maybe pull something out like a Gord, like a Jacques that you can't use Deploy on. You know, there's a few different ways. Actually, I don't think this list runs Jacques, but it gives you a way to eliminate a 14-point card and guaranteed replace it with something that is smaller for sure.
Yeah, especially on red coin, you could afford to go ahead and make that play and even lose the round if necessary. The fact that you're maybe pulling something big out of the round here is fine, but as it stands right now, that Vilgefortz eating up that 14 points, I mean, what's the worst that can happen in this case? What's the biggest and most scary card that can come out that will, you know, ruin the day? Maybe Cleaver pops out, and, you know, you'll have to deal with it, but we're going to find out right now as Vilgefortz comes through. Not the Vilgefortz you drew. This is an actually good one.
Love it. This is what I love to see. Vilgefortz comes out and drops Furco. That is probably best case scenario. That has to be best case scenario, right? A 2-point card, you take the Deploy away. Feels pretty good.
Philippa is probably the best.
Yes.
I mean, in terms of best case scenario,
yes,
Philippa is fantastic. But in terms of a point translation, I mean, that's, you know, you're getting taxed 2 points off of that insta kill. That's perfectly fine in this case. And now it's just going to be a matter of Big K trying to find ways to just stay relevant. And unfortunately for Big K, that Furco fell to the back row in the range row, meaning that the McCleaver's muscle has nothing really to pair up with to create a nice insulated pocket for a drill if you got to get to the drill.
Now, again, these Nilfgaard lists oftentimes can play Joachim up to 4 times, right? Because you can play once around 1, coup, round 3, location, put it back, all those shenanigans. Do you want to commit Joachim here in round 1? Is that what you need to do to maybe get ahead? Because obviously your doggos you can't play. Yenvo, you probably want to save for something a little bit more valuable.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I typically use Yen's Invocation against line pockets is I'll Yen's Invocation the Cleaver, and then I'll play it with my Joaquin, and then use my double cross ability to go and fish for a way to retrieve more coins with one of the crimes that exists there, just so that I can go ahead and spit out some more dudes from the Cleaver. Now, that's not always ideal, but it is one way to do it. But Big K has just figured that, you know what, this is the best way I'll get out of this. And here's some information for Big K. Oh, damn! The other dog was in the hand the whole time.
So that's... Obviously, that was really important because you want to be able to drop something meaningless here to get ahead, and you're able to do that even though you break up your thinning package. But you don't often see Syndicate on blue, when they get out the full gamut of safecrackers, you don't often see them lose that round. Now, that's pretty huge.
Yeah, no, that's very significant. But if there's any reprieve for Big K, it's the fact that, well, they didn't really give up a whole lot, right? I mean, you did play the cards that you particularly want to play, and you weren't punished terribly hard when it comes down to that Vilgefortz. The Vilgefortz only just
the
brought
Vilgefortz, is it?
Yes, the Vilgefortz. It is a... that. If there's a Tobliat, there's a Vilgefortz, okay? That's just how we go.
Seems totally fair.
Until we revert back again to Vilgefortz Classic and make millions of dollars. But
I was just checking this, and I do see it in deck. I wanted to make sure that Big K was running the list with Heatwave, and they are. So I was going to say part of the reason it feels bad to lose round 1 is because you do not have access to bleed out Masquerade Ball, but you will have access to Heatwave it, so that is an option going into round 3.
I kind of like Big K's chances here because of the fact that they have the Oneromancy and they have the access to the Heatwave potentially. But again, we've seen Nilfgaard do some pretty sneaky things in the past, especially when it comes down to breaking up pockets, to clogging rows, to making real estate difficult to manage in a 10-card round, as we see. A card like Cleaver is fantastic. It's a great, awesome card. The problem is that it's going to be spitting out dudes that will essentially get exploited by all the spies that that Lieutenant John Sally has, just mucking about. You've got Roderick, you got an Emissary, you've got there's a Duchess, you also have a Brathens, you've got Joaquin. What you don't have, however, is Kuda freaking Gras.
That is Absolutely correct. You have no coup. You can potentially tutor it out of the no Philippa or Heatwave on. Sorry, just while we're looking at it, I wanted to talk about it before I forget. But Onero into Heatwave could be the answer for Masquerade Ball. So we'll get access to one of the two of them. But yeah, while you're looking on John Sally's side, you are going to have Roderick, which could potentially give you access to coup. We're going to have to wait and see what's left in the deck. But, you know, sometimes that Roderick into coup can even play another Roderick into something like Cantarella, which we don't currently see in hand. So there's a few different ways of going about that. You can also potentially get a spy off of that Vigo. So there's a potential to jam up Big K's Rose pretty hard, given the current setup on the board.
And Morlem Hunters is just going to shut the door there on the Cleaver and get rid of that. The bodies have been made, though, and you saw Big K suspect that maybe that Cleaver was going to get addressed, and it did. So using some of those leader charges to go ahead and spit out a second Cleaver's muscle, another crown splitter, meaning that hey, at least I got two pockets now. So eventually, if necessary, I can drop that. I can drop Siggy, let's say. I could drop the drill if necessary. There's plenty of options here. Wild card here being the Triss. Triss is a nice addition to this list, which you don't necessarily always see, but it's there. It exists. It can potentially find you the follow-up to get you some more coins, get you another poison should it get veiled or dealt with, which I don't think it will, but still it's a potential.
And that's, you were mentioning it before in the broadcast, Flake, that Triss can be a little bit problematic when you're looking at something like AQ where you really need your cards. But in this case, you know, you've got so many crimes in your list that Triss is almost guaranteed to get you something you want, something that's going to fill up those pockets, and that dog feels really, really bad.
I mean, we're gonna take one dog out and not the second one, so I mean, in the wholesomeness of the game, yeah, that's a nice move to have, as one of the dogs is on the board as well. You know, you can't play favorites when it comes to the doggos, so there they are. Unfortunately, it wasn't the best thing. So again, by using those coins and spitting out a second muscle, it just means that you're allowing yourself time to play Siggy, fill up the bank, and then drop your drill here and get full value off of it. As you can see, a 25-point deficit is pretty damn nasty.
But at the same time, looking at Big K's hand, you don't have a lot of spenders. You have Horse Unsure, but you've got two Fist Techs that give you 5 coins each, essentially. You've got Dip in the Partar that gives you a bunch as well. In this case, we're going to see Bradens come down, continue to fill up that front row, I imagine, break up the pocket, seeing as how there's not a lot of coins. The Emissary will allow you to get tall as well, but it's going to be a bit of a surprise when that poison comes down.
Yeah, when it comes to emissaries, there are two of note. There's that one that boosts somebody on your side of the board by 7, and there's also Captain Benjamin Sisko of Deep Space Nine, also an emissary for you Star Trek nerds out there like me. Just saying. But good point there, Chris. Honestly, the fact that there's going to be limited areas to go ahead and spend those coins, and unfortunately, breaking up the pocket there just means you're getting a 1-for-1 trade from the drill, far cry from the 1.5 to 1 that you would have had before. And the Horson Jr. is one way to spend those coins, but it's very, I don't want to say temperamental. It's just not easy to pop off.
No, exactly. And you know, now you're sitting looking at, okay, we're going to get some poisons. We're not going to have a great way to spend. We're going to have Masquerade Ball come down. The thing is that John Sally really has no way of answering the drill either. Oh boy. That is the dream you want for Double Cross. You want to get Oneromancy. You'd rather get your own cards than your opponent's. And this gives you so many options. Gonna see the old Usurper come down, and just, you know, a huge point swing here off of that leader ability.
So the question is where are you dropping that poison? I mean, it's going to take you another turn to go ahead and finish off the drill. There's still a lot of coins left. That drill's going to get a lot of work done. The difference here is that it's not as dangerous as it was a couple turns ago, as it's missing its left flank, its left muscle. But in this case, it still can do the work. Again, one of the biggest things that you have to keep in mind when you're playing Syndicate is, how do I spend those coins? Can I spend those coins? Because nobody wants to go to the grave here with a fistful of dollars, so to speak. So we're going to see how this sort of shakes out. There's a nice Fist Tech that can complete on the Brathens. I don't think we have to worry about that, knowing that there's no purifies left. I believe all the poisons, like the straightaway poisons, were used in round 1, so there's no purifies left. The question is does Big K want to click the button 3 more times to kill that Thirsty Dame? But that's one way to do it too. Why not?
So this is going to change the way this plays out, right? Because Oneromancy was potentially going to go get you Heat Wave to answer that Masquerade Ball. Now in this scenario, I don't need to answer that Masquerade Ball because you already got 1 poison off. It's not as valuable, but now I can go get myself a spender. Now, if you do answer my drill, I can go finish that Fistek poison, get coins. I can do a dip in the Pontar, get more points. I can grab potentially Philippa to go ahead and yoink something. So it's going to give a little bit more flexibility to Big K here in how they move forward.
And that's all she wrote, I think, for the drill. I don't think we're going to see the drill do anything of value anymore, but it's worth noting here that the drill, poisoning the drill, it's not like you're poisoning. How many points did that drill represent? Frankly, it's upwards of 15 to 16 points already. Just casually thinking back here, and poisoning that drill does not recover those points that drill represents. No, because the drill already did its duty. It took points off of your side of the board. So killing that drill does not get you back all those coins the points as you will, as it would be of poisoning, let's say, that Brathens, which just occurred, right? Or killing that Brathens. It's a different story. So as we see now, just some creative usage of these coins, a little creative accounting as we see, is how this is happening. And, taking no chances in this case, it looks like Big K is just saying, you know what, before you address all these spenders and everything, I'm just going to empty the bank, get as big of a lead as possible, and see what happens. But this is shades to really early on in this round where Big K had a massive lead and John Sally had to fight back and did, and now they're throwing haymakers back and forth here.
Flipping it back around because that poison comes down. We talked about Ku not being there, but again, how important was John Sally's ability to use double cross to get an Onero? It allowed them to drop ball Onero into Usurper. Usurper pulled out that first poison, making it less interesting to Heatwave, but it also thinned his gold cards enough that now you were guaranteed to get Cantarella and Ku, deciding that you can go in either which direction. Here you go, making yourself another Joachim, giving yourself another big, bad, tall unit to catch up on points really, really quickly there. So we're gonna have to see Big K come back, use Triss obviously to go get another crime, put some more points on the board, some coins in the pocket. Same thing with Dip in the Pontar, and then maybe that Onero comes out for Philippa to try and snag something, but not much worth yoinking right now on John Sally's side.
Yeah, knowing that this Nilfgaard list is going to do a lot of good in terms of removing targets, it's better to spend those coins from a removal standpoint than it is from boosting your own board, let's say. Because, I mean, let's look at it. When it comes down to just pound for pound, I mean, Heatwave and the Yen's Invocation essentially do more or less the same thing. You're removing one target off the board. The difference is that the Heatwave is worth 12 or 13 points in this case, and the Yen's Invocation ain't worth... it's not worth its weight in provisions right now. So that's going to be problematic as well.
Exactly. It looks right now like Big K has all the points in hand. John Sally has some answers in hand. So it'll be I'm very, very interested in seeing how this kind of plays out, because Big K is going to want to continue. I mean, here, not exactly what you want. Fistek does give you 4 coins, but doesn't really do anything else. Bloody Good gives you 4 removal. Assault gives you 4 removal. Not really a large amount of coins either way. Just gonna Bloody Good fun anything really. It doesn't make much of a difference. It's gonna just put 4 on the other side of the board and give you 1 more coin in your pocket, and that's going to allow you probably at this point to... Oh no, it spends all your coins. I'm sorry. That is that is not what you want. That is why Bloody Good Fun can be a little bit of a pain, because it can unfortunately force you to spend your entire bank.
Yeah, it's called Bloody Good Fun. It's not called Perfect Safe Fun that everybody gets to go home and have a good time about. No, it's Bloody Good Fun. So you're gonna have to get down and dirty in that case. You got to spend the whole war chest. As we look at this, man, it's so close. It is so close. And the difference here is that Oneromancy and Gord looks like it's gonna punch way above what Lieutenant John Sally is gonna be able to sort of deflect here, because that Duchess, it will get you some points. You do have the deploy effect from the Nazca Sergeant boost, and the Vigo is going to also get some help here. The issue is that's nowhere near enough. I feel against a Gord and a Heatwave, because that Heatwave on that Vigo is just 13 clean points. Or
Sergeant is 14, potentially 15, like you just said, with the spy deploy. That is huge there as well. Yeah, we're going to see a cargo back on top. It doesn't actually make a difference. The informant's going to come down, copy, I guess, a muscle because it's got a shield on it. That Yenvo.
It's the only target you can really copy. There's the Gord, 13 points. Muy gordo. Unfortunately, not Al Goro, it's Gordo. And there he goes. And unfortunately, for our good friend, Lieutenant Sally, Lieutenant John Sally has been looked over for promotion, as Big K is going to be the new commissioner of Gwent Cops. And there will be no Gwent Cops 5, unfortunately.
That is it.
That is it. Lieutenant John Sally is relegated back down to detective. So it's all come full circle, ladies and gentlemen, as here we are. Detective John Sally is ready for a reboot, but it's going to be Big K who goes to the
But wait, sorry, Flake, before, I'm just going to jump over quickly. Repek is reminding us one more time, don't forget the Winter Pack. Gwent Open 1 will contribute to the prize pool. The Flake-approved trinkets. Do not forget about that. We're gonna get one more keg as well. Ooh, saving the premium keg.
Whoa, double purple sauce, and just look at him go.
And we're gonna get a Jangi again. The long lost cousin, Boba Fett, as you taught us before.
Correct, long lost cousin of Django and Boba. They got rid of the R when they emigrated to wherever the hell they emigrated to. So Mandalore. But either way, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. Chris, this has been a lot of fun. I know that we get a little silly here, but the games themselves have been very, very top notch.
Absolutely. Us silly. Not at all. Not at all. You know what? It was an absolute blast. We had a good time. Obviously, you know, there is a game going on. There's a lot of dollars on the line. We got to see Big K, formerly Aloha, move on to Gwent Open number 2. We have got Aquila moving on to Gwent Open number 2. So 2 people moving forward there. We've got Gwent Open 1 next week. Like, you're going to be back here doing more casting as well.
I will indeed. Yes, you can catch me in about a week or so. I should probably know this because I'll be there. But Gwent Open number 1 for season 3 will be occurring. Is it Open number 1? It is Open number 1. Open number 1 will be occurring on Saturday and Sunday. So friends, keep an eye on that. I'll be casting alongside my apprentice Shinmiri. I will teach him everything I know about Gwent. And there will also be Tia and Lionheart will be there as well, which is just absolutely awesome. But that's then. This is now, Chris, and I want to say thank you so much for being a better dressed, better looking, much more rugged looking, and capable caster than I ever wish I could be. So it's been a pleasure to do this with you, buddy.
Blake, we've known each other for 30 plus years. I feel like everything you just said has been absolutely relevant for 30 plus years. It's always been the case, but you know.
Yes. But this is where we can apply it in a Gwent format. And again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, 2 things. Number 1, catch the Gwent Open number 1 next weekend. You have to check it out. And number 2, start the petition to get Gwent Cops as an actual thing.
Sure.
With all the characters are there. You got busted back down to Detective John Sally. You've got the one Christo, crime boss, possibly. Baby?
I dress for it. I mean, you might as well.
That's right. You are kind of like the kingpin of this whole thing. And then there's the mysterious and big-mouthed henchman Flake boss. I don't know. Either way, Gwent Cops 1 through 4 is now available for streaming on Gwentflix. So
a huge shout out in the meantime for those of you, first of all, sign the petition as always, but secondly, thank you so much, Repek, doing a phenomenal job making sure we had access to all the games, all the graveyards, all the decks, clicking around, and he was clicking around 30 minutes in the future, so definitely was not easy for him to get that all our way, but I do appreciate that work tremendously. Obviously, Claymore doing a phenomenal job organizing the event, so huge thank you for them as well, and CDPR for giving us the opportunity to cast this wonderful top 64 for each and every one of you.
Oh, what a lovely tea party.